Hey Cypress, I got another bedtime story for you. This is my all-time favorite book. You can see it's really been through the ringer. It's got tape on the side or it's come apart. The corners are chewed up.
Sure.
I've had this book for a long time. I don't even know how old I was, maybe 3 when I first got this book. It's called Hebert the Timid Dragon and it's by Mercer Mayer. Look at that dragon. It's timid, just like you little scaredy cat. All right, here we go. Hebert the Timid Dragon by Mercer Mayer. Hebert the Dragon lived in a snug cave at the edge of the forest wild. Every night at bedtime, Hebert read a story from his favorite book, Knights in Armor. He loved the exciting tales of brave knights and princesses in distress. I wish I were a brave knight in armor, thought Hebert. But Hebert wasn't brave. As a matter of fact, Hebert was rather timid. You might even say he was afraid of his own shadow. See Hebert? Looking at his shadow? He's afraid of it. Afraid of that shadow. Nevertheless, Hebert decided one day to leave home and seek adventures as a knight. He packed his bag and started out along the dusty road. He hadn't gone far when he came upon a broken-down carriage and a princess in distress. It was just like a story from his favorite book. Oh boy, thought Hebert, this is the chance for my first knightly act. Hebert coughed politely. May I help? He asked. The men fixing the carriage didn't understand dragon language. What they heard was a terrible dragon roar. They ran for their lives. 4 bowmen stepped out of the woods. Hebert didn't know that they were the princess's royal guards. He thought they were kidnappers. He grabbed the princess to save her. The bowmen began to shoot at him. Dragons are too scaly to be hurt by arrows, but Hebert was scared. And whenever Hebert was scared, he ran. So Hebert ran and ran and ran. Sounds like his reptile brain always does flight mode. He ran straight home to his snug cave. Hebert slammed the front door and bolted it shut. He breathed a sigh of relief. As for the princess, she began to rant and rave. Listen, you silly-looking dragon, she shouted. When my father the king finds out that you've taken me away, he's gonna cut off your head. Oh my, thought Hebert. What have I done? Even his little buddy's afraid. He opened the door so the princess could leave. Oh no, she said. My mother told me never to go out alone after dark. I'm staying right here until my father comes to rescue me. You're just gonna have to wait. You're gonna get it. Perhaps some music will cheer her up, thought Hebert. He turned on the radio, but the princess shouted, I hate dragon music, and she broke his radio.
That's not nice.
No, she's really mean. Hebert prepared a great big bowl of soup for the princess. Icky, sticky dragon soup. Ugh, cried the princess, and she threw it in his face. See that? Ugh, gross. I hope it wasn't too hot. Hebert tidied up the guest room and put clean sheets on the bed, but the princess shrieked, Dusty, musty dragon bed, yuck! And she tore up the sheets. Then she threw a temper tantrum. She smashed all of Herbert's fine dragon bone china. She tipped over his bookcase. She tromped on his toys. The princess carried on all night. Hebert got very little sleep. Look, he's shouting, no, no! Kind of looks like you, actually. And she's just so mad. She's like, no! Herbert's just thinking, oh dear. In the morning, there came a loud banging at the door. Poking his head out the window, Herbert saw a brave knight in armor. Come out and fight, you slimy dragon! Shouted the knight, waving his battle axe. Herbert was frightened, and whenever Herbert was frightened, he got the hiccups. Herbert hiccuped and hiccuped and hiccuped. Billows of smoke poured from his nose. Needless to say, the brave knight in armor galloped away as fast as he could.
Not so brave.
Retreat, said his flag. That afternoon, the king and his whole army marched into Herbert's front yard. I'm gonna make mincemeat out of you, oh foul and villainous dragon, shouted the king. He couldn't be talking about me, thought Herbert. One look at the cannon and the battering ram, and Herbert was terrified. And whenever Herbert was terrified, he began to cough. His little friends were really scared too, saying, help, 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 help. But the princess looks really happy. Herbert coughed and coughed and coughed. Streams of fire and smoke poured from his nose and mouth. The great cannon melted. The battering ram caught fire. The army panicked and ran away. Are you men or mice? Squeak, 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 yelled the soldiers as they ran away. Look at the flames billowing out of Herbert's nose. Holy. I'd run too. Now look what you've done, you terrible dragon, said the princess. You've scared away my father's army. In a huff, she pushed Herbert aside and left, slamming the door behind her. Well, she could do that all along. Why did she need an army? Poor Herbert was broken-hearted. He had certainly made a mess of things. I guess I'm not cut out to be a brave knight in armor, he thought. 4 days, Herbert just slunk around his cave. He was feeling very unpopular. Then a troll friend of his popped in to pay a visit. Herbert, have you heard the news? He asked. Of course Herbert hadn't. His radio was still broken. It's just awful, said the troll. After you melted down the king's cannon and scattered his army, the evil Duke of Dingbat and his bandits kidnapped the princess and carried her away to the castle Grouch, and the king has no army to rescue her. Herbert has a little sign up here. It says, Sticks and stones can't break my bones, for I am just too scaly, but ugly things said to me hurt my feelings daily. By Herbert. Herbert's a really sensitive guy. Well, dragons usually have treasure lying around. Oh, does he ever? And Herbert just happened to have a wagon load of gold. I will take my gold to the castle Grouch and ransom the princess, thought Herbert. It's the least I can do. He set off for Castle Grouch, pulling his wagon load of gold. Herbert, I want to go home. Don't worry so much. They're gonna fix your wagon, says Little Mouse. This way, Castle Grouch. Go away. I'm Scray. Beat it. Scram. Private property. Ooh, I don't think Castle Grouch wants anyone to go there. Herbert knocked at the gate of the Castle Grouch. Hello, he called. I'll trade you this wagon load of gold for the princess. But the Duke of Dingbat didn't understand dragon language. What he heard was a terrible dragon roar. A dragon has attacked, he shouted. Dump a ton of boulders on him. That'll fix his wagon. So the Duke's bandits pushed a ton of boulders off the castle wall, right on top of Herbert. So the Duke's, Of course, Herbert's dragon scales were so thick that he couldn't be hurt a bit. But Herbert was horrified. And whenever Herbert was horrified, his nose tickled. And whenever his nose tickled, he sneezed. My wagon's just fine, he's thinking as the boulders are falling. Ah, 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 ah. Herbert sneezed a great blast that blew a huge hole in the wall of Castle Grouch. You don't have to think very hard to know that the Duke and his bandits tried to slip out the back door, but the Duke had lost his key. So they were trapped. Herbert took the princess back to her father's castle. He made the Duke of Dingbat and his bandits pull the wagon load of gold all the way. Wow, look how happy the king is. Pretty happy. You've probably guessed that Herbert was very popular indeed. The king made him first knight and grand dragon of the realm. Then the king gave a big party with music and dancing and presents for everyone except the Duke of Dingbat. He had to work on safety patrol. It says here, "Come one and all to the royal dragon dance. Meet Herbert, dragon the first knight." Grand dragon of the realm. Presents for everyone. And there's a sign here. It says, "Herbert's our hero." Herbert was a knight in armor at last, but not a brave knight in armor, because he was still the same old timid Herbert. Of course, nobody knew that except the princess, and she never told anyone. However, she always made sure that no one ever scared, frightened, terrified, or horrified Herbert again. Do not disturbeth. First night. Good for Herbert. Got what he needed. Needed to become a knight. The end. One of my favorites of all time. Until next time.